So in this video, I'd like to just briefly go over the notes on the solar system. All right. Again, this is hopefully a kind of familiar cartoon of how you've seen the solar system in the past. Hopefully you know by now that the sizes of the planets shown in a type of representation like this is really too large. How did our solar system form? All right, the theory for how our solar system formed is called the nebular theory. All right, so it's hypothesized that the sun and all the planets formed originally from this very large cloud of gas and dust called a nebula. All right, so the definition for a nebula is right here. And over time, this cloud started to condense on itself. Right, that's what gravity does. It makes things come together. And as this happened, this cloud started to rotate. All right, and so when this happened, all of the objects in this cloud started to rotate in the same direction. And over time, the small little bits of matter that were in this cloud started clumping together. And as one clump got a little bit bigger, it would pull on the other little bits of dust a little bit more. And all these little clumps eventually became what we know as the planets. All right. One thing that we know about all the planets is that they all rotate the sun in the exact same direction. And they all rotate the sun in the exact same plane. All right. So if I were to have a plate here, all right, all of the orbits of the planets could be drawn on that plate. There aren't any orbits that go in the opposite direction, like above the plate. So how is it hypothesized that we got all the orbits to be all in that same shape and all in that same direction? It's because they all came from that same rotating ball of gas. All right. So this slide just goes over this concept that I just talked about. That when these small little bits of dust and gas were out there, all of those bits were attracted to each other through gravitational attraction. And when those things started to clump together, that process is called accretion. So the planets in the solar system can be divided into two major types: the inner planets and the outer planets. All right, the inner planets are going to be Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. All right. And one of the things that characterizes them is that they tend to be terrestrial, which means their surfaces are solids. All right. So one thing about them is when the solar system was being formed, they were very hot. All right. They were originally big melted balls. All right, and when the solar system was really young, it was really too hot for them to have an atmosphere. All right, so they lost their primordial atmosphere. It was only later in Earth's development that it was proposed that it developed an atmosphere. So in contrast to that, we have the outer planets. All right, or what are called the Jovian planets. All right, these are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. All right. So one of the things about these planets is that they are a lot farther from the sun than the inner planets. All right. So since they were a lot farther from the sun, they were able to keep the gas that was in their atmosphere, and that's why they're most of those outer planets are made mostly of gas. All right. So a lot of these are sometimes called the gas giants, and if you looked at the type of materials that they're made of a lot of the same types of materials that the sun is made of.